Would you like to learn easy new strategies you can use to feel better instead of turning food or sweets to feel better? I know many people do that, and we want to change that habit. And would you like to take control your intake of food and sugar rather than it controlling you? And what if you could get through the day without needing all those pick-me-ups, like the candies, the cookies, the sweets, or the lattes to stay energized? It is possible, and you will feel more calm, confident, and at peace with food, your body, and your life. And we are talking today with Melissa Rohlfs about finding freedom from sugar. Melissa, welcome.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, T.
Yeah, and we have no sugar. I have no sugar in me today. I don't even drink coffee for that matter. But Melissa is a certified holistic health and life coach, helping busy women find freedom and feel at peace with their food, their bodies, and their lives. And she's committed to empowering women to break free from dieting, emotional eating, and self-image issues so they can ditch the diet mentality and feel empowered in their own skin. So, Melissa, let's first start out with your background a little bit, because I listened to some of your podcasts. I read all about your background, but you had a tumultuous history with food, and it took you to then earning a certification at the Health Coach Institute. But how did you get to there? Because life experiences are so meaningful when it comes to situations like this.
Yeah, so I had no intentions of ever doing this. It wasn't on my radar. I was going to be Katie Couric and broadcast the news and be famous. That was my goal, T. But life
I
happened
love it.
and got married, had kids. And around the time our son was a newborn, he wasn't sleeping through the night. Our daughter was 2 at the time, had some undiagnosed food allergies and sensory processing disorder. My husband was traveling for work, so I was exhausted as it was. But on top of that, I had just gotten diagnosed with PTSD from childhood trauma. So
Wow.
that was kind of like my moment of, okay, something needs to change. So I went to a naturopath, and she did a lot of testing and discovered that my vitamin levels, mineral levels, everything was in a really bad place, and really gave me a bunch of supplements and told me that they would help me to feel better and heal. And I continued in therapy. And really a little bit after that, learned about the impact of food and mood on overall health. And I think I was just under the impression that food was only about weight and looking a certain size, and that was all that it was about. But this journey caused me to realize that it's about mood and energy and health and vibrancy and life. And it's so all encompassing. And so I broke free from sugar and found healing. And here I am doing the same thing to help other women who are where I was.
Wow. So and your kids? So your kids are healthy now too?
Yep. Did a
And
complete nutritional overhaul.
wow, I love it. And what about your husband? Because does he still travel a lot? Does he eat well?
He is not traveling anymore, which is great, but we all eat the same. We're all gluten-free, dairy-free, whole foods, clean, low processing, if any at all. It's a little trickier now. The kids are older, but I think by and
Right.
large, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, they learn. They might slip here and there, but they learn, and I believe they always come back and appreciate going through it in their lifestyle, because there's so much junk out there and so much sugar in so many different foods, and it's affecting people's health, not only their weight, but other issues with their health pretty much. So actually, besides weight, can you share some of the harmful effects of sugar on our bodies?
Yeah, absolutely. So it causes inflammation, which isn't great. That can lead to disease. It can obviously wreak havoc on our teeth, which I think is the other commonality we associate with sugar, but it also suppresses our immunity. It can cause GI issues. It can increase cholesterol. It can make us more anxious and moody because our moods are unstable from riding that blood sugar roller coaster. I think it can overload our liver. It affects our energy. Like, it is so toxic to our bodies. but I don't think we realize it because it's legal, it's socially acceptable, and it's in almost everything that the food manufacturers give us, including ketchup.
Exactly, including ketchup, which usually is in the form of sugar or high fructose corn syrup. Now, when we're talking about sugar, it's such a wide range. There's so many different. Are we just talking white sugar? Or are we talking any sugar?
For the purposes of this, I think we're talking any sugar except for the sugar that's found in fruit. Like that is
Okay.
natural sugar, that is organic, that is whole, that is clean, that is like good. That doesn't have the damaging effects that the other sugars do. Because the thing too, you bring up a good point is, yeah, you look at a food label and it might say sugar, but there are several other names for sugar on labels. And so it's really important to understand the ingredients and how it's labeled. High fructose corn syrup, dextrose, like anything that ends, I think, in an ose is a form of sugar in the food that we're eating. So kind of sneaky.
Yeah, and they add it to so many different types of food. It's really about reading your labels and understanding this a little bit better, which is why we are talking about this today. But it is very tricky. So let's talk. How did you figure it out? How did you find the freedom from sugar?
I think I really had to figure out why I was going to it in the first place because it wasn't about the sugar or the food or any of that. It was more about what I was missing in here. I was tired, so I was energy. I was a little bit unfulfilled as a stay-at-home mom. I, had this amazing college career and wanted to be Katie Couric, and then I was home changing diapers and having baby spit up on me and feeling like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And I
Right.
think there was just a lot of emotion and a lot of things that I hadn't worked through. And for me, sugar was the easy way to make me feel better. So I really kind of had to look at why am I going for the sugar? What am I looking for and what do I need? And address that instead of trying a sugar detox or a weight loss program or, whatever the plan of the month was that I thought I needed. But really kind of dealing with the root issues of what's going on, what's driving this behavior.
Side note, okay, grapes, wine, is that considered bad sugar?
It depends. I've seen there's a new wine company out. I can't think of the name of it, but supposedly they're like lower sugar. It's organic. The way they process it is better. So I don't really know. I'm not much of a wine drinker.
Okay.
So I'm not probably much help.
No, I was just curious because when you said fruit, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I should have asked her about grapes and wine because I love my wine. I only drink organic wine. That's a whole nother topic.
I was just going to say,
you
yes.
only want to drink organic wine
Thank
because
you.
otherwise you are drinking a lot of chemicals and pesticides. Yeah. So that's a whole nother, I've done a few interviews on organic wine because I love my organic wine so much. So that's how you found your freedom from sugar. What is something that you would like people to know about sugar? Because there's a lot of there's sugar in everything, but what's something that you would want the people to know?
I want them to know that it's 9 times more addictive than cocaine. Like, just think
Oh my
about that
gosh.
for a second, right? Like, we are giving our kids. I mean, I was the mom that potty trained. Like, here's an M&M, you went. Like, I was kind of poisoning my child. I mean, that's probably a dramatic term, but like, here, let me give you this substance that's addictive, and the food dyes in the M&Ms. By the way, that's a whole nother topic.
Yes.
Like I just didn't realize what I was doing. So I think if we can understand that sugar is 9 times more addictive than cocaine, and yet it's legal, socially acceptable, thrown at kids at parades, moms are potty training with it. Like we really need to step back and ask, what is this doing to my child's body? What is this doing to my body? And is there any benefit in it? No, there really isn't, other than that dopamine release. But if you can figure out another way to get that dopamine release, you're good.
I saw a graphic at one point. I know you probably know about it, about the amount of sugar, cups of sugar that an average American takes in per month or per year. And it was just outrageous. And people don't understand, when you go out throughout your day, if you're especially eating processed foods, right? Pretty much all of them have sugar in it. If you're trying to eat low fat of anything, you're eating, in order for them to make anything low fat, they're adding sugar to it. So look at your yogurt. that's what comes to my mind at first. I can't believe they add sugar to yogurt, this wonderful natural probiotic food, and they add sugar. It's like wipes out everything to me. They put fruit in there, but they're adding sugar. So that is, those things to me are like that people have to really, really pay attention to the labels of everything, correct?
Absolutely, 100%. And I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm too busy, I don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a totally valid reason. But I would encourage you just start maybe one or two products, focus on one or two things.
Good idea.
And then build. You don't have to do everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
That's overwhelming. Then we freeze, but just maybe pick two products. Maybe it's if your kids are eating cereal, choose a cereal. Or if you like granola bars, look at the granola bars. Like look at something that's packaged and processed. That's probably where it's most likely hiding. So start there and then kind of build upon that.
Yeah, no, those are good tips because you think about all these things, cereal, kids, they add sugar to cereal. Growing up, we never had sugar added to cereal. So, and then on top of that, you're also potentially eating, if it's processed, you got to really be careful of everything in it too. Now, what was I just going to say? It was something very important. Sugar. Oh, the organic. Now, people think, oh, if I buy organic, it's good, but you really still have to look at a label, even if it's orange juice or apple juice, or if it's organic, that's great, but you still have to look at that label and make sure that you are not eating added sugar, right?
100%. And I think too, just because you buy it at the health food store doesn't make it healthy. Like
Right.
we had our kids at Sprouts the other day. I don't know if you have that near you.
No, but I go when I'm wherever. I love Sprouts.
Okay, so we were in Sprouts and they have the Albanese gummy bears that they make in Indiana. And I'm like, why are they selling these here? I think a lot of times people think, oh, because I bought it at Sprouts or Whole Foods or
Of
fill in
course.
your store, oh, it's healthy. Well, it might not necessarily be. You still got to look at the label, regardless of what store you buy it in.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so true. And the substitutes for sugar you touched on a little bit. And there was a big story this week. I have a few friends that like to use stevia, and they think stevia is healthier than eating a teaspoon of sugar in your coffee or honey, because it's maybe 32 calories as opposed to 9 calories. I don't get that, because it's not that many calories. But the report on stevia came out that there was this chemical in stevia that is linked to heart disease or heart attacks, not even disease. I said it to a girlfriend and she's like, I'm never eating it in my food ever again. I'm done. And because it scares me, like even things like that. And these are two very conscious, healthy friends of mine who get it, but I couldn't get them off stevia. And when I saw that report, and I just sent it to them, because these are things, stevia, it's processed. Stevia is a leaf, like a basil on a leaf. It looks like a green plant, and we actually grow it, and we'll use it once in a while if we want to sweeten something up. And they didn't get that they can't just turn a stevia leaf into a powder and that's it. So I was so happy that something came out about that, because sugar substitutes are horrific, as you said. There's just and the high fructose corn syrup Society of America came after me once when I said something very minor about high fructose corn syrup being in ketchup and harming our children's organs, because it's very hard to process, especially for little kids. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but it's really you touched on it, knowing those words, those keywords, the sucrose, that the ROSC at the end of the word, and avoiding all of that.
100%. And just being mindful of what you're putting in and on your body, how you're reacting to it, and how your kids are reacting to it.
Exactly. So what is one thing people can do to find freedom from sugar if they struggle with it as you did?
I think the main thing is becoming aware of when you're going to sugar, because
Mm.
I can ask 10 women right now and they'll be like, oh, I don't eat much sugar. That's what they will tell you. And
Mhm.
I believe that they legitimately think they're not eating a lot of sugar throughout the day. But then if you were to follow them and you were to like look at the latte and you look at kind of what they're eating, it's kind of like you just aren't aware of it. Because I think when people hear sugar, they think eating spoonfuls of sugar or ice cream
Right.
or cookies or that sort of thing. But really it's beyond that. So again, it just goes back to knowing what's in your food, looking at the labels and being mindful. So I think the key thing is to become aware and get curious about what really am I eating and why am I eating it? Am I eating
Yep.
it to nourish my body? Am I fueling my body? Am I eating for a reason outside of hunger? And if so, what needs to be rectified in that situation that I'm turning to food for?
Yep. No doubt. Just a simple uh, ham sandwich that your bread could be loaded with sugar, and so could your mustard, and so could your ketchup, whatever you put on your ham. So those are just very basic things that people need. I always say read the labels. Just read the label and start understanding that. And your advice of changing one thing or two things here and there, look at your condiments, look at your processed foods, and start paying attention more to it. So this is all great advice. Let's talk a little bit about you. And you have a book. Let's let everybody know what that book is, because it recently just came out, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, just a few weeks ago. You're on it.
Yay.
So
What is
it's called Finding Freedom, and it's all about removing the obstacles to live a free and fulfilled life. So for me, that talks a little bit about working through past trauma, some hurt, some of the reasons I was going towards that sugar and the food in the first place, and really finding the freedom from that habit of using food to stuff my emotions. So a little bit of my story, things that people can do to find that freedom. There's exercises, things they can implement right away to get started on their journey as well.
Now, quick question. Did you have a weight problem at all?
I did.
Yeah, so you probably lost quite a bit of weight.
I did. And I think that's kind of what confused me, T, because as I started my journey, I lost about 35 pounds and I've kept it off over the years. And I think a lot of people came to me initially like, how did you lose your weight? And so I thought, oh, well, I should help people with weight loss. That's not my heart. Like,
Right.
if you lose weight in the process through working with me, that's awesome. But I really want you to find freedom and peace with food, your body, and your life. I want you to heal those relationships, because from those flows everything, who you are, how you show up in the world, who you are with your family. And so I think so many people are just so fixated on the weight that they miss the deeper issue of freedom and peace and joy, and really just having that, not having food consume you. It's just really quite amazing.
Yeah, no, it is amazing. I've interviewed some people similar to this, that once they changed their habits and ate healthier, the weight just comes off, and from your mindset to how you feed your body. So that's good. You have a podcast too. I listened to some of your episodes. I love it. They were short and sweet, right to the point. They were great. Mondays with Melissa, it's called, right?
Yep, you're right. Thank you. And I try to be brief and bright.
Yeah, no, that's great. Where can people find the podcast?
On Anchor, Spotify. I don't know what other platforms it's on, but it's called Mondays with Melissa. You can also go to my website and find it there too.
And that's the key thing there, is finding all of this on her website, which is freedom, and then the number 2 and the letter B, coaching, right?
Yep, free2becoaching.com.
free2becoaching.com. Everything's in the show notes. And last but not least, let's talk about the free guide you have for everybody called How to Kick Sugar Cravings to the Curb. Where can they find that?
They can find that on my website, and I've got some really great recipes in there that I think when people think I'm not going to eat sugar, they think boring, bland, they don't think taste. And I really want people to know that you can eat healthy, you can live without sugar, and it can still taste great. You can feel amazing. So grab the guide, get the recipes. There's some tips in there as well. So
that is such a great point. We cook, my husband's a gourmet cook. There's no sugar. I don't even know if we have sugar, honestly, to tell you the honest truth, in this house. If we do, it's probably a clump of rock right now. You know how that gets, probably been there for about 10 years. But
Mm.
I love all your advice, because once you stopped eating the sugar and getting rid of it or trying to eliminate it, you will start to taste food in a different way. It's very interesting. When I eat yogurt, if I have to eat a yogurt, not have to eat a yogurt, I like my yogurts in the morning. And if we're traveling and I go to, where was I? Not Albertsons. I was somewhere. I think it was maybe in Albertsons in Arizona for the Super Bowl. And I tried to find yogurt without sugar in it. And there were some healthy ones, supposedly. And I turned around and it's added sugar. And I can't eat that. I just won't eat it. I think it's just horrible. They're ruining the good yogurt with all those probiotics. But read your labels. To spaghetti sauce, tomato sauce, another one. They add the sugar to make you think that it's going to taste better. Make your own spaghetti sauce, I guess. But there are ones out there. There are definitely ones out there that have, if you, obviously everybody doesn't have time to cook like we cook here and we cook from scratch, but there are decent foods out there without sugar in them. You just have to look. So, Melissa, thank you. Anything you want to close on?
Thank you for having me. It was a great conversation. I appreciate you and what you're doing. Everybody needs your message. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we're building a web across the country of all of us that are concerned about the health of all of Americans, not just Americans, of course, but we are all in this together. And I look forward to staying connected with you and maybe doing another podcast down the road, because I know we could talk about 20 other subjects here. So
Of course we could.
yes, of course we could. And I appreciate you coming on today, Melissa.